Why NASA should study Brazilians. Have you ever stopped to think about how Brazilians manage to turn any situation, no matter how impossible it seems, into a creative and innovative solution? The world faces challenges, but in Brazil, the way people handle problems defies logic. There's a popular saying in Brazil that goes, "NASA should study Brazilians." It may sound funny at first, but what if there's some truth to it? How can we explain this almost superhuman ability Brazilians have to improvise, adapt, and still smile in the face of adversity? It's something even the world's top scientists can't fully grasp. While many are searching for advanced technological solutions to overcome obstacles, a Brazilian with just a piece of wire and a good dose of creativity solves what seemed impossible. It sounds absurd, but that's exactly what makes this idea so intriguing.
In a country where resources aren't always readily available and challenges are constant, Brazilians don't just survive, they thrive. Maybe what NASA needs to study isn't rockets or space technology, but the purest form of human resilience. Of course, this is all in good fun, but still, how is it possible that even without much to work with, Brazilians always find a way to overcome difficulties with creativity and good humor? What is it in Brazil's cultural DNA that makes this ability almost supernatural? The funny thing is, for Brazilians, this isn't even surprising anymore. They already know that when a problem arises, the solution will follow, and it might come in a way no one expected. If you're curious to understand why, stick with me, and let's dive into what makes Brazilians a true phenomenon. Get ready to discover that while other countries may be looking for answers in the stars, perhaps the greatest lesson in resilience is right here in Brazil, in the street corners, in casual conversations, and in the simple, everyday moments. The Brazilian people are one of the most fascinating and captivating forces in this world. The blend of cultures, races, and beliefs that define Brazil makes it a truly unique place. Brazilians have one particular trait that stands out: adaptability. This shows not just in the Portuguese language, which itself is rich in expressions, but also in the way every Brazilian interacts with the world around them. They don't just follow the rules, they mold them as needed, creating a balance between tradition and innovation that few other cultures can achieve. When talking about Brazilians, it's impossible to ignore their ability to reinvent themselves. In a country as vast as Brazil, the diversity of experiences is what unites its people. It's common to see Brazilians, from north to south, maintaining their own unique identities while sharing a common thread that transcends geographic and cultural differences. This diversity creates a one-of-a-kind resilience, where Brazilians face their often enormous challenges with unparalleled determination. It's as if there's an invisible code that everyone shares, something that can be felt in the streets, in the parks, and in everyday conversations. And the most impressive part? Even when facing what seem like insurmountable difficulties, Brazilians maintain their sense of humor and hope. This ability isn't something you can learn from a book. It's almost second nature to those who live in Brazil. The Portuguese language, full of regional nuances and variations, reflects this adaptability. Whether in daily situations or major events, Brazilians always find a way to express themselves with an authenticity that deeply touches those lucky enough to experience it firsthand. Brazil's cultural diversity is one of its greatest treasures. Every corner of the country carries a piece of history, traditions, and customs that, when combined, form a cultural mosaic like no other. From regional cuisine to music and popular festivals, Brazil is a country where diversity is celebrated. From the frevo in Recife to samba in Rio, Brazilians know that their diversity is what makes them so special. It's almost impossible not to be enchanted by the explosion of colors, sounds, and flavors that permeate Brazilian daily life. This diversity shows in how people live and communicate. In the South, you'll hear a more pronounced accent. In the Northeast, there's a richness of unique expressions and words. Brazilians, no matter the region, adapt their Portuguese to suit their surroundings, and this only strengthens their plural identity. The blend of indigenous, African, European, and Asian influences has created a unique culture that only Brazil can claim. This fusion allows Brazilians to be versatile while still deeply rooted in the traditions that have shaped them. If you stop to think about it, this diversity is also a source of learning for Brazilians themselves. They don't need to travel far to discover new worlds. They're right there in the neighboring city or the next door neighborhood. It's as if Brazil is a miniature universe where every new cultural experience enriches the lives of those who encounter it. This kaleidoscope of identities is what allows Brazilians to recognize themselves in others, even in the deepest of differences. One of the most striking traits of Brazilians is their ability to find joy even in the face of the greatest adversities. It's almost like a natural gift, a resilience embedded in the soul of every Brazilian. No matter how challenging the situation seems, Brazilians find a way to face difficulties with a smile. This contagious optimism is something many admire, and it's what keeps Brazil standing tall, even in times of crisis. In the streets, in the squares, in communities, there's always a way to turn a problem into a joke, a creative solution, or a new opportunity. Brazilians don't just deal with difficulties, they transcend them. Creativity emerges as an immediate response to obstacles. Whether improvising ways to navigate financial struggles or coming up with solutions for daily challenges, Brazilians know how to do a lot with very little. A practical example of this is the gambiarra, a very Brazilian term that sums up the ability to create something useful out of whatever is at hand. This practice isn't just a trick, it's a genuine expression of the people's inventiveness, present in all aspects of life. And of course, this joy and creativity aren't just individual, they're shared. Brazilians find strength in community, in connecting with others. It's in the samba circle, the weekend barbecue, or even on social media where they exchange experiences and solutions. The ability to overcome difficulties with lightness is what keeps Brazil always ready for the next challenge, no matter how big it is. Now let's pause for a quick reflection. Think fast. What comes to mind when you think of Brazilians? Is it the contagious joy that fills the streets during Carnival? Or perhaps the cultural diversity that makes Brazil one of the most fascinating countries in the world? Regardless of your answer, Brazilians carry within them a unique mix of qualities that make them special. And you, what do you think is the most defining trait of Brazilians? This question may seem simple at first, but it opens the door to reflect on the complexity of Brazil and its people. The answer isn't just in the cliches we often hear, but in the nuances of everyday life that few take the time to notice. Brazilians are more than just the stereotype of joy or celebration. They are figures of resilience, creativity, and innovation. And every Brazilian carries a part of this story with them, whether in the big cities or the small villages. And more importantly, what does it reveal about how you see Brazil and its people? Often, when we take a closer look, we realize that Brazil has much more to offer than we ever imagined, don't you think? Have you ever heard this famous joke, NASA should study Brazilians? This expression, while lighthearted and fun, has a deeper truth worth exploring. Brazilians are known for their ability to make the impossible look easy, improvising solutions in situations where most would have given up. It's no wonder people say this ability goes beyond the ordinary, deserving of scientific investigation. After all, how do Brazilians always manage to find a way? What makes Brazilians so unexplainable? Maybe it's the way they deal with daily challenges, using a blend of creativity, resilience, and, of course, humor. Many countries face difficulties, but Brazilians have a peculiar way of turning problems into opportunities, as if it were a quick thinking game where they always find a way out. NASA, with all its technology and ingenuity, could learn a thing or two from this adaptive capacity, since Brazilians seem to always be ready for change, whether small or gigantic. This expression also reflects the optimistic side of Brazilians. Even in the toughest situations, they find a way to make a joke, find a solution, and move forward. If life were a space mission full of obstacles, Brazilians would be the ones who manage to land the ship, even when the instruments fail. This resilience, combined with creativity, is what makes Brazilians a phenomenon truly worthy of study. There are countless everyday examples that justify this joke about NASA studying Brazilians. One of the most classic is the famous gambiarra. No matter the problem, Brazilians always find an improvised and effective solution. If an appliance breaks down, for example, they don't rush to buy a new one. Instead, they look for creative alternatives, using anything from duct tape to makeshift replacement parts. It's almost as if Brazilians have a kind of instinctive engineering, capable of solving problems with minimal resources. Another striking example is the ability to throw parties that defy financial logic. Even in times of crisis, Brazilians always find a way to celebrate. Whether organizing a barbecue with the bare minimum or pooling money among friends, the ability to keep the joy alive, regardless of the circumstances, is something that impresses any outsider. In many parts of the world, such parties would be unthinkable with so few resources. But in Brazil, the festive spirit is so strong that it simply happens. And we can't forget the Brazilian talent for social media. With few resources and lots of creativity, they manage to make memes go viral and create content that reaches millions worldwide. Brazilian humor, often self-deprecating and witty, turns difficulties into jokes and memes that spread across the globe in an instant. It's a unique form of communication that combines resilience and innovation. And in a way, it perfectly sums up the Brazilian spirit. always adaptable, creative, and above all, full of life. Have you ever stopped to think about how to apply all of this in your own life? Brazilians' ability to improvise, to turn difficulties into opportunities, is something that can inspire you to act differently. How do you handle your challenges? Are you allowing yourself to be more creative, to find unexpected solutions, or even to laugh at the hardest situations? The big takeaway here is that Brazilians show, day in and day out, that it's not always about having all the resources, but about having the right mindset to transform any scenario. So, what can you do from now on? How can you start applying this creative resilience? Maybe at work, at home, or even in how you tackle everyday problems. The question is, are you fully tapping into your potential to overcome challenges just like Brazilians do? And even more, how can you start today to adopt this find a way attitude? If NASA is already taking notes, why not start studying and applying it yourself? If you want to keep learning about these curiosities and get inspired by the Brazilian way of life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any future videos and will keep discovering how to use these lessons in your daily life. And now, the real question is, how will you use this knowledge to transform your own life?